Oh, hey friends, I'm super excited to share this with you. We're still testing a few things on the cover, but man, this has got some good stuff in there. And I want to talk to you about some of the key findings right away before this even goes to print so you can get started taking action and getting results. Now, a few things that we found while we were working on this book and researching 6, 7, 8, 9-figure earners about why they're making different choices and the thinking that goes into that. Now, some of the things that we found are one, the less you work, the more you make. So, whatever situation you're in, if you're thinking, okay, how can I work more hours? How can I do more work? How can I take on more clients? You're actually kind of shooting yourself in the foot because by trying to do more, you actually end up earning less. So, instead of thinking, how can I do more? I want you to start to think, how could I actually do less but make more? How could I spend less time getting this done? It still gets done. It still gets done at a very high quality. It still serves people at a very big quality, but how could it happen with less of my time? How could I serve people at a greater level, make a bigger difference in their life while I am working less hours? You want to start to think on that level because now your brain is looking for solutions that scale. There's a very hard limit on what you can do with your time. You can only do so much with that amount of time, right? But if instead you're solving problems by connecting with people, there's no limit to the number of people you can connect with. If you're solving problems by building systems to support you, there's no limit to the number of systems you can build to support you. Now you're thinking at scale. It allows you to be more efficient. The quality of your life is better. Your income is better. You're adding more value to more people. So first thing, the less you work, the more you make. Start to be dumb. Instead of being the smart one that knows everything and can do everything, start to be dumb so that you're building systems to support you and people to support you. Work less and you'll make more. Second thing is that if you're focused on getting things done, if you're focused on checking things off your to-do list, you're actually lowering your income. And hopefully by the end of reading this book, you will have a tremendous amount of guilt that you just check something off your to-do list. And the reason is, for most people, not always, but for most people, their to-do list is filled with items that could be delegated for $10 or $15 an hour. So the more time you spend checking those off your list, it doesn't matter how good you are at them, it doesn't matter how fast you can do them, what you're doing is paying yourself $10 or $15 an hour while you're doing that. So if you get in a situation where you're like, man, I just don't have the money to outsource, I don't have the money to invest or grow or delegate or whatever it is, it could be because you're spending the majority of your time on the low value tasks instead of the high value tasks. So instead of checking something off your list, what you want to do again is work less to get more done. How could that get done without you being the one doing it? Build a system to support you, build a relationship to support you. By doing so, more of those things will happen and you're increasing your value to the company as a whole. The last thing is by being focused on getting things done, that I gotta get things done and go achieve and get things done, you're actually getting in the way. Because the more you're the one doing the work, the less is happening. And I mean, you just think about it, right? Whatever's on your to-do list, in that moment of time that you are doing that task, there's what? 27 other things that aren't getting done? And doing the task doesn't keep you from having to do the task again tomorrow. So instead of getting things done, think at a higher level. Think at a level of systems and scale. Instead of doing the work, solve the problem that caused it to need to be done to start with. By solving that problem with a system, a process, a policy, an order, a relationship, a subcontractor, a joint venture partner, by solving what caused it to need it to be done to start with, you'll never have to do it again. And those things scale. To review real quick, the less you work, the more you make. If you're doing the work, you're actually getting in the way. You're the bottleneck. You're falling behind. And being focused on getting things done, checking things off your to-do list, actually lowers your income. Because generally speaking, the majority of the items we rush to check off are things that could be delegated for $10 or $15 an hour, provided the person was trained properly and had the right system to follow. Now, I want to show you a little bit how we were able to tease these things out of some of the big earners, 6, 7, 8-figure earners. How do we come to this conclusion? Well, it wasn't really just by listening to them talk or looking over their shoulder or documenting their days. We used a Nobel-nominated process to map out their thinking patterns. And in the book, I'm really excited to show you because we have got several examples of their actual thinking patterns in the book. When it gets printed up and released to the public, you'll be able to see what's going on in their mind. Now, this process comes from a guy in the 50s and 60s, Robert Hartman, and this Nobel-nominated way of taking how we value things, how we consider good and bad, and translating that into the way we solve problems in the world. This process allows us to see why some people always have more than enough free time, why they always have more than enough money and income and relationships, while other people, even though they're working hard, even though they're smart, even though they're disciplined, they always have enough stress. They don't have enough free time. They don't have enough income or support. It's not because of the job that they're in. It's not because of the city they're in or the family they're in or their skill set or their knowledge or anything like that. It just has to do with the way their brain is solving problems. So what we do is we print up a graph of their thinking patterns. And this graph is like a fingerprint of the way their brain solves problems. It's as unique as they are. And I want to show you a couple samples of some of these graphs out in the wild. Now, this first graph that we're looking at, and this is just a part of their breakthrough map, I want you to notice that middle column for taking action is up really high. And what that indicates is that their brain solves problems by taking massive action. That they want more results, they go take more action. And they pride themselves on getting things done. Well, the thing is though, if we pull that individual aside, we say, hey, do you ever have more on your to-do list than you have time to get done? They're like, oh man, all the time, how'd you know? We say, does it ever feel like you're working harder and faster to get things done, but at the end of the day, it feels like you just spent your time doing someone else's job? They're like, yeah, how'd you know? Well, when the brain solves problems by looking for things to do, then the brain looks for things to do. And that's why day after day, that to-do list never shrinks, because the brain doesn't value causing things to get done. It values just doing them yourself, which kills your free time and destroys your income. So whenever this pattern shows up, this way of thinking that says, in order to get more done, I have to take more action, we call it the chevron of stress, because it makes sense on the surface that more action is more results. But what happens in reality is it just leaves you with less free time and less income. Now, a lot of the people in the book share this other pattern that I want to talk to you about real quick here. But before I introduce the pattern, this way of thinking that they have in the world, I want you to think of somebody that you know that is very successful. They own multiple businesses, but they don't work multiple full-time jobs, right? They work maybe, 20 hours a week. They always have more than enough time for their family and community. You could interrupt them in the middle of the day. They'd be happy to talk to you. Now, whenever we do a mind scan with somebody like that, the kind of person that always has more than enough free time, always has more than enough income, it seems like they have the touch of gold. The less they work, the more they make. Whenever we print up the thinking patterns of that individual, it tends to look like this. Now, I want you to notice a couple things about this graph. First off, that middle column, for them, taking action is really low. Now, this is counterintuitive. Why is it that the person with the most results, the most income, the most free time, tends to value taking action the least? Well, the catch is, it's not that they don't value results. They're just extremely cautious about who needs to be doing the work and in what order. Notice those things on the side. That one column for planning and process systems. It's up really high, showing that their brain really values the importance of order, process, efficiency, system, scale. Notice that one on the left. Emotions, empathy, connecting with people, feeling, also up very high. Their brain really values how people feel. Now, of course, this is important because people don't remember what you do for them. They don't remember how good you are at your service. They remember how you made them feel in the process. So when this person is stressed, if they ever did have more on their to-do list than they have time to get done, the way they solve that is by spending more time building systems to support them and more time building relationships to support them. And that's why at the end of the day, they always have more free time while still getting more done, because they solve problems with things that scale as opposed to hustle, effort, more work hours, that kind of thing. Now, there's another interesting type of thinking pattern that has emerged after studying hundreds and hundreds of really high performers, and that is this breakthrough right here. So in the graph I'm showing you now, in that middle column, role awareness. Role awareness has to do with how clear are we on our zone of genius. This is really important. You can't make a difference in the world through your clumsy, right? You got to be in your zone of genius. And this breakthrough happens time and time again for ultra high earners. Had a guy who's making $400,000 a year and takes the mind scan. He works in financial planning. And one of the things that came up was that he had a tendency to devalue his unique zone of genius. Well, after looking at the mind scan and realizing he had this amazing opportunity, this breakthrough waiting for him that he wasn't leveraging, he restructures his day to spend more time in his zone of genius, the one thing he does the best. He restructures his key office administrator so that they can hold him accountable and help him craft more of his day around his sweet spot. Those two changes took him from $400,000 a year to $1.2 million a year, simply because he was honoring the thing that he did the best. Had another lady, she's working at a nonprofit. Now, sometimes working at a nonprofit, it feels like you're just herding cats, right? You got to deal with volunteers. Sometimes the volunteers might not be as skilled as they need to be or as helpful as they could be, but they got a great heart. And it can be frustrating, it can be very stressful. Well, she takes the mind scan. And one of the things we noticed is that she tended to devalue her zone of genius as well. She also didn't have quite the clarity that she could have. By expanding her clarity around that, we did that with a series of mindset push-ups just for zone of genius type activities. By expanding her clarity and leveraging it more, it took her earning power at that nonprofit to $5,000 an hour because she got really, really clear on the one thing she did the best and the value it brought to her company. By spending more time doing that, she was able to reach more people and make a bigger difference. And this is a breakthrough that a lot of high earners tend to have that takes them from great to absolutely amazing, getting clear on their zone of genius. And I look forward to sharing more of those with you in the book right here, Thinking Patterns of Success. Of course, we're still working out some kinks on the cover, but we got some good stuff in here for you, my friends. If you haven't yet, I would encourage you to go ahead and try the mind scan for yourself. Just see what your thinking patterns look like and see what opportunities, any blind spots that could be tripping you up or any breakthroughs that are waiting for you. Remember to solve problems by working less, not more. Remember to solve problems by building things that scale with systems and people. All right, my friends, if you have any questions on how to apply some of this in your life, hit me up on the socials. Other than that, let's make it a great week.